Foundation. Welcome to our fourth, I think it's fourth,
I think it's
correct?
four.
Our fourth episode of our Heroes Foundation conversational series. I'm with T and with Ramon from the VA. Excited to be here today. Unfortunately, Kevin cannot be here today, so go ahead. Kevin, we miss you.
We're gonna complete the mission.
Yes. Without Kevin.
Well, we'll let quick introductions, let everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll go right into it. So, T?
Okay, so T. Hewling, Veteran Employer Liaison with Texas Veteran Commission, housed out of the Redbird Workforce.
Ramon Reese, I'm a vocational rehabilitation specialist with the Dallas VA.
Perfect. And we'll just dive right into it, because
Okay.
the kind of theme today is more about the VA, kind of speaking about programs, and we had talked a little bit before before this started about the differences and kind of the misconceptions
Yeah.
regarding the VA, the differences between VBA, VHA. Can you just share a little bit about the differences, or what, from an employer aspect, we can expect when we contact the VA regarding the VHA, what it is, the acronym?
Okay. Well, as we mentioned, rehabilitation, vocational rehabilitation. You hear a lot of VBA, right, which is Veterans Benefits Administration. And then you have VHA, which is Veterans Healthcare Administration. And the differences of the two is primarily, as I mentioned, benefits and healthcare. And a lot of people, and it's easy to do, right? We get mixed up when well, I went to the VA. The VA told me that all I need to do was get this done. Right? So at the end of the day, it's just about putting the information out there, just making sure that they understand. The benefit is something, as a veteran, you've earned it. You have a right to that. Whereas healthcare, you have to have the right diagnosis. You have to be treated, and so on and so forth. But that's pretty much the difference. Now, as it relates to employment, the primary thing is for vocational rehabilitation. What are we doing to engage with community organizations who are looking to hire veterans, right? You can take that a lot of different ways, because now you're dealing with veterans, right? Oh, wait a minute. These are veterans who, something, there's a stigma, right? Something's wrong with what's going on. And when you take rehabilitation and you add that in there, automatically the employer is going to say, hey, okay, what are we really dealing with? And really, we're talking about competitive employment. How do we engage opportunities for our veterans to enter into a competitive work environment in today's workspace? And that's basically what the vocational rehabilitation is on the VHA side of the VA.
Okay. I guess, because you hit it on the nail, interview biases. When a company interviews a candidate, and the little nuances such as rehabilitation, they think a lot of the stigma around military and veteran hiring has to do with PTS. A lot of it has to do with all, and that's completely outside of what the VHA. I mean, you are, from my perspective, providing such a unique opportunity for veterans or transition service members, or even the family members that are able to use the GI Bill money just to get training education. I mean, it's like an opportunity to go to North Texas or a college, and the VHA will take care of the training cost or certification. Can you talk a little bit about the programs maybe you partner with, or the programs that because I know you do programs internally as well that help veterans transition?
Like we said, we have a lot of what we like to call community partners. We do a lot of development. And T, if she's familiar with us, the Texas Veterans Commission is just one of them. We have another organization that we work with, who formerly they were called Achieve. Now the company is called U&I. And there's a lot of supports that come with our work programs. And that's what it's all about, right? You mentioned earlier a veteran that may have PTSD. So an employer might be a little bit concerned. But the programs that we offer in the therapeutic work therapy program gives us an opportunity to support that veteran into the work environment. From the application process to the interview skills, and making sure that they're ready and work ready to move into an environment in a positive manner. When it comes to services that we don't offer, right, that's where our community partners come in. Every veteran that comes to the VA may not be appropriate for our programs. So we have to have organizations like Texas Veterans Commission, Volunteers of America, you know, different organizations can come in and kind of partner with us to say, okay, we're not going to allow this veteran to fall through the cracks. We're going to still be here. If it's employment they want, if it's education they want, let's see how we can get that done. You know, Empower, right? Another
Great
organization
organization
that you may be familiar with. A lot of our veterans may go there. Like these voc rehabilitation programs are just that. They're therapeutic in nature, but it's rehabilitation. How do we get this veteran that may be struggling because of a PTSD diagnosis and that they haven't been in the workplace for some time? How do we get them work ready? What do we need to do to make sure they have supports in place to ensure that they're successful, they're confident, they know what their limitations may or may not be? You know, you mentioned earlier diversity and stigmas and bias and things of that nature. When you get into those elements, it's a different process, right? And that's where VHA comes in, the healthcare side.
Gotcha.
Are we making sure that the veteran is appropriate, has an appropriate diagnosis? And that's key. This program, vocational rehabilitation, you have to have a mental health diagnosis in order to even participate in the program. So that's one of those things that you think about and say, well, wait a minute. Oh, this person has, you know, PTSD, or this person may have a severe mental illness, psychosis. And, wait a minute, you mean they can work? You know what I mean? That's what the employers like. And you would think that that's second nature to everybody. Everyone has a right to employment, right?
Yes.
Everyone, regardless of whether it's a physical diagnosis or an invisible diagnosis. You have a right to earn a living in a competitive environment, not a workshop, right? So people say, oh, no, workshops are illegal. Can't have them anymore. So what's next? How do we re-engage the competitive employment population and with employers who understand what diversity and inclusion consist of when you're dealing with the veteran population?
And I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Because I think companies, as they start maturing into DEI, DEIB,
Now you,
diversity,
yeah.
equity, inclusion, and veterans. That inclusive aspect, but also the more, I guess, mature talent acquisition strategies around interviews, you know, or what, you know, PTS actually is, because a lot of it, we, from a civilian perspective, we all carry it. I mean, it could be anything. It could be
an auto accident.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It comes and so, what does you know, we ask T. How does TVC kind of part, like, what is I guess the collab, because, so for like instance, yesterday with Domino's. Domino's has a hiring event in 2 weeks in Houston. I reached out to you because you're my go-to for everything. And so when I introduce a company to you and say, okay, they have a hiring event, how do you partner with the VA and access that talent pool?
So what I do, besides working with employers, one of the things I do for employers is I'm going to share their opportunities with them. So all the jobs I receive from any employer, I send over there, I send to Empower, I send to a bunch of veteran organizations so I can partner with everybody, because we don't want to just keep it to ourselves and hold on with it, and I'm only going to assist the veterans that are, you know, near Redbird. I'm going to assist everyone and everywhere trying to get a job. And what I like is TVC was invited over to Ramon's office, and everyone came in and we had a meeting. And as long as I've been working with them, I did not know all the ins and outs of who they assist. And I'm going to quote it wrong. I'm saying it in advance. The doctor over there told me, she said, they don't just work with anybody, because they're working with a unique, special subset of veterans. Those veterans have gone through some things. I mean, as veterans, everybody goes through things, but those veterans have gone through some things, and now they might be at the lowest point in their life. They're going to assist them, get them back up to where they need to be before they send them out, and then once they get them back up, then they send them out to employment and jobs to me to help. And I'm saying it wrong or something. Right?
Well, no, that's a great segue, because when we look at the total of veterans, we're going to say this, we're going to use the correct terminology, right? Veterans Health Administration, Vocational Rehabilitation Services, right?
Yes.
Compensated work therapy.
That word, yes, I'm gonna say the word
Now,
third.
keeping in mind, what does that mean, right?
Yes.
What does that mean? So, under CWT is what we'll call it from here on out, which is compensated work therapy. There's 3 programs,
Okay.
right? You have transitional work, which is a program for veterans who've been, let's say, you've been out of the workplace, literally, let's say 4 years, 5 years. And you're not sure, because you had this diagnosis, you're not sure if you can be reacclimated into competitive employment. So you're sitting around at home as a veteran, looking at the walls and second guessing yourself, right? Unsure. I want to go to work, have a desire to work, but I don't know where to start. TW is perfect for that veteran, because it allows you to come in, you get a program assessment, you have a vocational rehabilitation specialist assigned to you who will talk to you about, hey, what did you do in your last job? You know, do you have a current resume? You know, what do you want to do, right? It's different than saying, hey, we got jobs at, let's say, Domino's, or we have jobs at TI. I know that's a long stretch between the two, right?
Yeah.
But do you have the capacity, do you have the skill set to do the job that you wanted to do? And if so, this is what we're going to do for you. We're not going to automatically put you in a competitive work environment. We're going to put you in an assignment, because consider it, TW is therapeutic, but you're considered a patient at that point, a vocational rehabilitation patient. So we're going to assign you in different places at the VA to see if you can do the basic things for employment. Can you get to work on time? Are you there, can you communicate with your employee and your coworkers? Can you coexist?
Right.
Are you triggered in any way, right? Those things and those types of elements are vital when you're talking about the success of an employment outcome, right? So let's say you're in that environment for 6 months to a year. And then you're like, man, I feel good. My confidence is back up. I can do this. I can go to work. I can meet people. I can reacclimate into society in a way that I've been thinking about, but now I'm doing it. So what's the obvious next step? Okay, community-based employment. That's the next program. That's the phase that you would go to. Community-based employment is a rapid engagement, community, hence community. You're no longer a patient at the VA. You've transitioned into a candidate for competitive employment, right? So all these steps are in place. When you're in community-based employment, you're now looking for a real job. You're looking for competitive pay, whatever the market, whatever minimum wage is or above, whatever you qualify, that's what we're going to look for. Now at that point, as I mentioned, we're working with you in the trenches. If you tell me you want to be, let's say, a logistics or warehouse supervisor, I'm in the streets, knocking on doors, calling T. Hey T, look, hey T, do you know anyone right now who's working?
hiring?
No, seriously, I know you do. Who's hiring? Who may be hiring right now in logistics in a warehouse setting? T will say, oh yeah, XPO or whoever is out there, reach out to so and so. They're the recruiter. So when we say supports, we're not just going to tell you. We're out there doing things with and for you. I may have to go to an employer and knock on the door and say, hey, who do I speak to about hiring initiatives for veterans? Let's talk about it. How many veterans do you have on staff? Do you understand the dynamics of a veteran candidate? Have you dealt with veterans with diagnosis? But you have to be careful because of disclosure, right? You can't go in the door just automatically saying, hey, my veteran has PTSD, or my veteran has schizophrenia or bipolar. That stigma comes into play then they start backing up. But you have to treat them like anyone else without a diagnosis. So those are the supports that we have in place.
And I had heard at one point, CWT.
He said heard. That's a terrible way to start. Terrible. You didn't hear it
what
from me.
what I heard was.
So I had heard from at one point.
Oh, I'm like, are you pointing at me? Not this point. Okay, go ahead.
But does CWT conform or allow an employer to customize the reentry process? I thought there was like an employer could have kind of like the apprenticeship program from a smaller aspect, where it's like a 8 to 10 week program where an employer could customize the CWT to fit their jobs or their environment. Is that accurate?
No. I'll keep it. But to think about this,
there is a
such thing of customized employment. And that would mean that you engage, there's a benefit, right? When you think of customized employment, there's a benefit for the employer and the veteran. Now, let's say, I'm gonna use GameStop. Let's say GameStop comes and say, you know what, we're opening a new distribution center. And we have 40 positions available. And we wanna bring veterans in there, right? So that's a perfect opportunity to say, okay, well, let's collaborate on this thing. We can, do the recruiting process with you. We can funnel the veterans through our program and make sure the skill sets are correct, right? And make sure that you're getting the candidate that you want.
Right.
But you have to understand, these veterans come with this diagnosis, that diagnosis, but they also come along with support, right? Support could be anything. It could be job coaching. I may not be a vocational vocational rehabilitation specialist on Wednesday. I may be a job coach. That means I will come with them, learn the job as they're learning it, do the job as they should do it, and fade away later. That's customization. That's what you call customized employment. When you're talking about supported employment, that's different. Supported employment, which we have a program for that, it's more intensive for severe mental illness, traumatic brain injury, bipolar, schizophrenia, those types of things, different type of environment altogether. But still, a lot of them are work, eligible. They can work. The key to it is that they have to be on their medication and they have to be embedded with a treatment team at the VA. One of the clinics that specializes in their, what their trauma may have been or what their diagnosis is. So we're not just going to put a veteran out in the middle of nowhere with no support. These veterans, they know what they're doing. And we've learned through the aches and the pains of the process of what works, what doesn't work. But the program mandates and the guidelines say, hey, look, if a veteran comes to you with the desire to work, you make it happen. And that's basically what we're doing. And they come later. They come off the street. They come out of the housing population, sheltered housing, shelters. Some of them literally come out of their vehicles. Waiting for housing vouchers, different things of that nature. It's an intense environment, but the successes, right?
Yeah.
You sit around and you think about someone who hadn't worked in 10, 12 years, re-engages, finds a job, and a year later he or she is still working.
Yeah.
They're thriving now. They have their own place. They're getting a paycheck. They're managing their money. And more importantly, they're managing their symptoms, right? Because you think of anyone with a diagnosis or without, an adult male or female, right? I want to go to work, but I can't work. What do? You sit around.
Yes.
Right? You sit around and second guess yourself. Then depression sets in.
I was like, and then low self-esteem.
Yeah,
then
low
depression.
self-esteem, and now you have someone with all the ability in the world, but has become disabled because of their thoughts and because of their diagnosis.
Yeah.
Right? So we get them out of that.
Yeah.
That's what the vocational rehabilitation program is all about on the VHA side.
Yes. I like their support system. I've literally gone to job fairs and seen one of the counselors with their client.
Yeah.
So they will walk them into a job fair, guide them to employers that's best for them. They'll stop by and say hey to me. And they're like, I'm on my way to T. And sometimes they'll stop and say hey to me because they say, T, this is my client and this is what he or she is looking for. And I'll say, oh, go over there to do that. And because I know their kind of client, they're going to guide them. They're not going to lead them to say, if it's Amazon and you have problems with a large group of people or something like that, or, depending on what their diagnosis is, Amazon wouldn't be the place for you. So they're going to veer them someplace else that's better for them, an office with 4 people instead, or, and I don't know what that person's issue is, so I'm sending them everywhere. Everywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, hit all of the employees. But their person, I'm going to call their person is going to go, no, I know this person, this is my client, I know their background, I know their needs. They're just not going to throw them out there and just tell them swim without a life vest.
Yeah. But then in like Lost House, a lot of times we're out there at these events by ourselves, looking for the employers that understand DEI and now inclusiveness with veterans, right? A lot of companies, big and small, will say, oh, we have veterans initiatives. We're looking for, veterans. But when you start talking to them, it's only at the superficial facial level to
It's
where
just
they're
at the
saying,
recruitment stage.
yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Because, and sometimes when you ask a recruiter, what are your diversity initiatives? What's going on with inclusion? And they'll look at you with a blank canvas like, oh, well, you might want to talk to our director, or you might want to talk to the owner. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You know, this is something that's going on right now, and it's moving and become more prevalent daily when you start talking about diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
And I believe, I'm a veteran myself. I served. I believe that every veteran should have an appropriate opportunity to do what they want to do and how they want to do it. That includes employment or whatever endeavor that they have. So by me being in this place, right, my personal responsibility is to stand not only up for them, but stand with them. Because it's easy, as you know, it's easy to have a conversation and somebody tells you, hey man, go do this. What you should do is this. But when you're with them, you know, and they're in your car and you're riding and you get to talk to them, and even before then, you build a rapport with them. You know what their triggers are, their stresses are, and you know how to talk to them.
Right.
And it's easy when you believe in what they're trying to do, right? Because I may have been there. You may have been in a position that you know what, only if I had somebody,
Yes.
right, that would help me, or thought that I could even give me a little bit of confidence in myself, right?
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly. Just lift me up a little
yeah,
bit.
just that little bit, you know, no hand out.
Right.
The
right.
hand up. I
Hand
just
up.
need somebody to look at me and say, you know what, I can see you where you're trying to go,
Definitely.
you know.
And that's
then,
another way
yeah.
they partner with TVC, because not everybody wants to go into work. Some people want their own business.
Yeah,
So TVC
yeah.
has the entrepreneurship.
Well, that's
If it's-
exactly what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, they have
yeah.
the women's program. You got
Yeah,
a woman
yeah.
veteran, okay? She's like, well, I want to know specifically about things available to me as a woman.
Yeah.
Women's program, we got somebody right here in Dallas, you know, for the entrepreneurship. They'll help you with your business plan, because I darn sure don't know how to write one. You know, we have all those good things, and it ties in. I don't know how to write one. I mean, I can Google it. Or, well, no, actually, I can go to TVC. Yeah, we partner at all those different. TVC has mental health.
Yeah.
So you can go to TVC Mental Health. They say, I'm looking for this, this, and this. They're well versed on their program. They're like, we know the program you should go to over here. And again, because I've been working with them forever, when I sat down the other month with them, it was like, wow, all this I didn't quite know. I just knew if somebody maybe had some extra issues, send them over to them.
Yeah, but and one thing is, right, think about how many people are in today's workspace that has a diagnosis, right? That's not a veteran, they're civilians. No one knows about it, right? So why should it be any different? You know, disclosure is a huge thing, right? If you, that's where customized employment comes into play. You have to disclose that, not specifically what the disability is, but that you have one. Because once you get into that and you start talking to companies that really understand diversity, it's a benefit to employers,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's a huge benefit, you know. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, because I really want to build upon that. So the last 5 to 7 years have been based on more consulting with companies. And well, as you know, T, I go into companies and I work through veteran initiatives, and as it's matured into more of a D&I strategy under the umbrella of DEI, now it's not, when I first started, it was all recruitment focused. It was all just find as a talent pool. We just need an accessible talent pool. And to your point,
Get those
and
bodies.
all of a sudden you go from recruiting, well, how are they acclimating? How are they assimilating to the culture? What is your company doing? It's becoming from like veteran friendly to veteran ready. How does the VA, I guess TVC, partner with companies to help a more mature veteran initiative rather than just veteran recruitment strategy?
What I'm doing right now, and I'm glad you mentioned that, I'm actually in the process of putting together a DEI initiative specific to the vocational rehabilitation therapy program, primarily to talk to organizations about that very thing. What does it mean for you guys to consider diversity, equity, inclusion, and how are you mapping that out to transition out into the veteran population? When I say just starting that, I think I mentioned it to you last month. That's how fresh and I'm in the process of putting some things together, and some employers that I want, and community resources. Some of the, what do you call it? Chamber of Commerce's,
Oh,
things
yeah.
of that nature, because they're entangled with what? The businesses that come into your
They are.
community. And a lot of them should know, you know, hey, they're looking for this. They have this many jobs. This is the person to talk to, right? So in the process of building that, but the conversations that I've had with organizations, like you said earlier, it's not just about creating the sourcing channel, the pool, bringing, but being an effective channel, right?
Yes. Yep.
You want to
Yes.
make sure that just because they're a veteran may not be appropriate, you know? Or the company is specifically saying to you, hey, we want a disabled veteran, right? That's different than saying, hey, all veterans welcome. Now open the door, everybody's coming.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
when companies start to say to you, you know what, specifically, we want disabled veterans. We want someone that comes in that we can see their progress, we can help them, we can support them. But even though they have what we're looking for, right? You have I'm working with a veteran now who's autistic. I've never done that before. You know, this is the dynamic of DEI1 and disabilities, right? The co-occurring disabilities. I'm like, wait a minute. Autism is not on the spectrum that we talk about, but he also had PTSD.
Oh.
And I was like, how is that possible? How did he get into the military?
That
right?
was my first
How
thought.
did he serve? He honorably discharged, was in the Navy band. I'm like, okay, how did this happen?
High functioning autism.
Very high functioning. He's got IT and computer experience, IT experience. So
okay.
you know, when it comes to autism, depending on the spectrum, they're very critical, very regimented, right?
Right.
They know exactly what they do. That once they do it once, they do it at a high level, and it can be repetitive. And so now, working with those types of veterans with that diagnosis has helped me go into an organization with more confidence. Like, we're not just having physically disabled veterans. We have all types of veterans who are now wanting to enter into a workspace.
And
How,
that was-
how do we how do we get
Exactly.
how do we get on the same page when it comes to hiring, screening, culturing, and helping these veterans, right?
Yeah.
And I'm really finding it a little more difficult than I thought I would to have that conversation at the recruitment level.
Well, because most companies have the best, their
Intentions.
heart's in the right place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
unfortunately, a company, what I found the last 5, and I got into the recruitment or the consulting aspect because of my dad. My dad's a veteran, Vietnam vet. He's a Marine. My foundation, the Daniel Salvador Montoya Heroes Foundation, is to honor my father, Marine, and my uncle, my late uncle, Army veteran, Vietnam vet. But the transition, you know, in companies that are trying to, and so I saw the gap, and so as I went into it, as I try to help companies, to your point, the first thing they think of is, okay, well, it's outside of DEI, and slowly started to integrate itself with DEI. And when it integrates with DEI, then what they realize is that 50% of transition service members are minorities. So it complements very well to a DEI. And all of a sudden, you're talking about now another subsector of women. But it depends on the company and the groups they identify within their DEI strategy to start off with, if it's disabled, if it's minorities, if it's women. But when you approach a veteran program as a scalable DEI, it has such a higher success rate.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, think about the traits, right? Think about initially when you start thinking about veterans and recruiting veterans and hiring, what do they think about? Oh, veterans are, you know, they're mission driven, right? That's the thing. Oh, they'll get the job done. They're mission driven.
They're loyal.
They're loyal. They're
Yeah,
not.
They're gonna show up on time.
Yeah.
We're
yeah.
more than that.
And look, and a lot more than that. You know what I mean? But
More to us. Don't you put us in a bubble. Yes.
but that's just what it was, right?
Yeah.
And it was that for years. And even you go to some places right now, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, veteran he'll get the job done. And they'll tell you, we've got veterans here. Ray works in the dock.
Yes.
One veteran.
They'll always be able to
Ray
point to
works
that
in
one. He's been here 20 years.
My dad grew up to a VP level, but when he first got in, he was at Safeway and a forklift.
Yeah.
As he was transitioned out, got his degree through the GI Bill, did everything he needed to do. When he went for his first job, suit and tie. All right, go to the docks, get that forklift, get to work. And there's so malemployment for
Oh,
veterans
wow.
is so huge, and then you look at the stat from within the first 12 months of the retention status, they leave their job within like 70% leave their job within the
Right.
first 12 months of employment because of it, because employers don't understand. To
They
your
don't.
point, they don't understand
Yeah.
what what your experience or in the military translates to a civilian life.
And I'll tell you another thing you
And I
mentioned.
got a little look.
You
I
know,
said,
you shut up. But
Get
even
excited.
he said, "Wait a minute, I'm gonna get
He's
my
so
point
serious
across."
about that.
I got
I'm
something to
saying,
say.
yeah. But you mentioned the perfect word, and this is the first time that I've heard it, but it's appropriate. Malemployment.
Oh,
How many times have you had an employer come and say, "Hey, we've got distribution workers, warehouse workers, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing happens is that you get a line full of veterans or candidates who just wants a job.
yeah.
Yes.
Any job.
Any job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't, and we get it a lot. We have an appointment, a veteran comes in, and I'll ask, after I build a rapport and after we've done everything else, you know what, say, Mr. Duncan, what is it that you want to do? I'll do anything. I just want to work. That, and accepting that, leads to what? A short-term
Yes.
job with another failed work attempt, right? Because we haven't considered their attitudes, their military training, not the regimental training, the transferable skills, right?
Yes.
You know, the administrative components, it may not be IT the way you know it, but you have terminology.
Right.
And things of that nature. And these are actually profiles that you can build for them using the tool, ONET, for instance. Just using different
Fantastic
tools,
tool.
right?
Definitely.
Going in there, building tools so they can see. Wait a minute, you mean I don't have to just take any job? No.
Exactly. You have to open their mind up. They come in
Yeah.
and say, I want to do anything. Oh, so you work on the
Yeah.
back of a trash truck. Really? They're like, well, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so
So,
tell me
yeah.
what you did
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what you did since then. And then you start pointing out things that they never knew they could do. Like
Yeah.
a truck driver. I drive trucks. You must have admin skills because you're filling out paperwork. You got to
Yeah.
say your loads. That means you know some math. Logistics, you got all
Yeah.
that stuff packed in there.
Yeah.
You open it up. You're not just one little thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you bring tangible and intangible benefits to a job.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
A lot of intangible benefits beyond the time management.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal for me. Yeah.
I mean, and that's just the thing. We live in a society, and including the VA, right?
Mm-hmm.
We find ourselves at times in the past, not at this moment, but doing the same thing. Oh, they want a job, let's get them hired. It's a numbers game, right?
Yes.
Let's get them hired. Let's get them hired. But at the end of the day, is it more than that? If you look at it as a numbers game, you're doing a disservice to the veteran. Because there's no long term, and we're looking at long term competitive employment where you can see yourself grow and develop like your dad.
Definitely.
Right? Started on the docks on the forklift and made it all the way up to upper management.
That is one of the things
That
I
is-
ask employers.
yeah,
You
that
know
is
what I mean?
doable.
Yeah. When
It's
you go in
possible.
and they say they're hiring veterans, okay, so can you show me a veteran here that maybe started from the bottom and worked their way to the top? I
Yeah.
did a meeting with
I
Omni
like that.
Marriott.
I like that.
How many veterans do you have here? And they didn't have, 10%, but they could show me where somebody literally went from valet all the way up to like VP. Okay, then I know it can happen here.
Yeah.
I can tell a
Yeah.
veteran he can literally start here as a bartender and work his way up.
Because they have a culture embedded now.
Yes,
Right? They
it's
have a culture
already
embedded
there.
that can be
He doesn't have to
accepted.
come in and pave the
Yeah.
way. You're showing me you can already do it. And
Yeah.
nothing's better than a company that when so like I write employers up for awards, American Legion Award, DAV Awards. And for the American Legion, it asks for your numbers. How many did you hire this year? How many do you have? What's your retention number? And when they have a great retention number, I know you're supporting your veterans. Because if they didn't like it, they wouldn't stay. They're not just gonna stay. They're gonna leave if you're not treating them well. When you tell me your retention rate is like 70, 80, okay, you believe in your veterans, you understand the veteran mindset. You are about them. You have to be dedicated to your veterans. You can't just hire them so you can go around telling people, I hire veterans.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good for you.
No, are you hiring them? Is that enough?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is that-
they
is that
get the
it?
paycheck. You know
Yeah.
what else?
CC
Yeah.
compliant, check.
Exactly. I'm hitting that
You're
wicket.
right.
I got that one. Look, he was on the newsletter last month. She's our employee of the month. No, I need more than that. I need to know what you're doing for them. And that's not to say that you treat the rest of your workforce less than, but I need you to honor these people who have served you, who are coming in to help your company. You tell me you support veterans, I want to know how you support them, what you're doing for them.
But it also depends on our veteran, right?
Yes.
You get some veterans that come in and they have the mentality that the world owes me.
Well, no.
You know, I fought, I've defended.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you can do for me, right?
Yeah.
But that's not
how it is.
That's not how it works, right?
No.
We would love to be that, you know, cut and dry, right? Black and white. But at the end of the day, what do you want for yourself as a veteran?
Yes.
Yes, you earned the right for me to be in front of you, to walk beside you, do whatever you need me to do on your behalf to get you where you want to go. But what are you willing to do?
That part. I ask them now, how are you going to reflect upon your service?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're a
That's a
veteran.
great question.
It is,
Huh?
right?
That's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
If you go around, you say, well, I'm not going to say I was in the Navy. He was in the Navy. I'm always going to say I'm a Marine.
But that's not your fault. It's okay. It's all right.
We're on camera. We're not going to do that right now. Y'all
They can
know.
cut that out.
You already know. Best service. Moving
I'm
on.
gonna leave that one
Moving
alone.
on. I am a reflection.
I gotta go back home to my dad, and my dad's a Marine, so
Your dad's a Marine. That's 2-1. 2-1. He's probably very proud. He has a bumper sticker and everything.
Look, just leave it alone.
Look how he moved
That's
up.
the
But
He
nevertheless,
scooted over again on
See?
that elbow.
he's like Marine Corps, and he's very proud.
Okay,
So,
okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to close that one thought I was having before I had to say my service was the best. So not only is my service the best, but going into a job beside, you know, I'm a veteran. What can you do for me? I'm a representation of the Marine Corps. So I need to go in and reflect as a veteran. You know, I'm demonstrating what military people as a whole provide. So I can't just go in saying, hey, this is us, I'm a veteran, do. I want you to see what veterans and military members can do. Now, moving past that, we will discuss this off camera. Nevertheless, we got a couple of upcoming events coming up. September 11th, the Veterans Land Board is having a job fair at Grand Prairie Reserve Base. I didn't even know there was a reserve base in Grand Prairie, but there is. It's going to be from 9 to 2, September 11th. It's a Sunday. And on September 17th, there's another Grand Prairie Reserve, sponsored by the Veterans Land Board, job fair, 7 to 1400, so that's 7 to 2. And I think they have over 60 employers for that. And that's on a Saturday. You can bring your dependents, your spouses. I mean, they will have a wide range of employers for those. And Wells Fargo is hiring now, not just for in the bank, lots of IT.
Lisa Young.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome
Frederick
people.
Ward.
Frederick Ward.
Sean Passmore.
Great people.
Great team.
Great people. And if you are looking for a veteran career advisor to help you with your resume, anything like that, every workforce has one. And once you're ready, job ready, then they will send you to somebody like me, will help you get a job. If you have any of those, I don't want to say issues, what's another word?
Diagnosis.
If you have any diagnosis, I'm almost a CNA now. Reach out to Ramon, we'll provide that. Or just contact the VA hospital and find out about those programs, okay? Now that you know they exist, if you're falling down on your luck, any diagnosis, any problems, there is somebody somewhere that can assist you.
And to keep in mind, just really quick,
Yes, sir.
if you are a veteran in Dallas-Fort Worth area, also Fort Worth or Bonham, and you feel like there's a mental health crisis or you have a diagnosis but you're not being treated, reach out to your primary care physician. Let them know that, you know, there's something going on and there's a clinic or a team that can support you with your mental health. And if you have a diagnosis and you're not working and you're looking for resources or considering entering the workplace, just ask your primary care physician, say, hey, I want to talk to somebody about going back to work.
See, I never knew that.
And that's what will get a referral sent to our program, and we'll dissect and decide what program is appropriate for them once they come through the door.
See, who'd ever thought you could go see your doctor at the VA and beside my knee hurts, I need a job.
And literally, that's how it works. And keep in mind, they can't tell you what program is appropriate, but they know how to write the referral. And it has to be a prescribing physician, right? It has to be your primary care doctor. It could be a NP or what they call a nurse practitioner
Nurse
or something
practitioner,
like
okay,
that.
okay.
But if it's on your mental health team or your mental health or your primary care provider, and you have that diagnosis, they can send a consult to our program.
Now, see, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and this is specific for veterans, right? Obviously, we mentioned that before.
Right.
But veterans with mental health diagnosis.
Okay,
Yeah,
with mental health diagnosis.
yeah.
Okay, good to go. I'm excited. Okay, so there's a question. I'm
Well,
gonna
when
read
we
it.
first, we'll get to the question. I just want to thank everybody that helped with the backpacks for South Dallas. So we did a great opportunity, a great job in providing backpacks for school supplies for kids in South Dallas. Kids, with the city, partnering with the city of Dallas, we provided, and the Heroes Foundation provided up to 300 fully supplied backpacks for
Oh,
kids.
that's awesome.
And so, going forward, this is a seasonal aspect for myself, which for me, this is my passion when it comes to. So, dinners for homeless veterans, what we do for Thanksgiving and Christmas that's coming up. I give Christmas trees, or the Heroes Foundation gives Christmas trees to Gold Star families that don't have their families in need, especially with COVID. If you're in need of a Christmas tree, if for your family, feel free to reach out. Also, we adopt a family. We work with TWC and potentially TVC as far as identifying veteran families in need, making sure we have a Christmas list aspect, making sure the families have the gift. So this is the time that we're coming up to that we really hone in and give back to children, veteran families in need, Gold Star families. So
That's awesome.
thank you for the Christmas, for the backpacks, everyone that helped with that. And then just follow us to see, how you can help us in the future as we go into the seasonal aspect, making sure no family goes without, no kid goes without. Because we even do children's health. Kraft Foods gave me, I think it was 400 Lunchables
Oh, nice.
for first line
I like
defenders at children's health. The doctors, the nurses, everyone
Oh,
that
that's
is giving their,
amazing.
that
I like
is in the, boots on the ground with helping children. So.
Super
And
nice.
I know we got questions. I just want to make sure I thanked everyone for the backpacks, but also, going forward with our Christmas and Thanksgiving and holidays, that we don't forget the families. We don't forget.
Gotcha.
I didn't grow up with a whole lot, but I grew up with, my family aspect.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah.
if we can help make any families whole that have suffered from COVID, I would love to do so.
That's great. Outstanding.
Awesome. Amazing.
Okay, so show us the question, Kim. Okay, so the question says, how do you work around the issue of veterans not wanting to disclose their military service? Michael Perry.
Mr. Perry, disclosure is just that. It's saying that it's up to you if you want to disclose whether your military service or your diagnosis or anything like that. It's specifically up to you based on the situation that you're in. There's no law that I'm aware of, especially when it comes to employment, that
Self-attest.
says you have to disclose your service or your diagnosis, whether it's physical or mental health related.
Right, and I'm gonna guess that he's probably thinking the discharge. So lots of people that have a other than honorable or general or something like that, you don't have to tell us.
But you
that.
also have to consider,
Yeah,
if it's a dishonorable discharge, and depending on the nature of that discharge, it may show up in the background
it will.
for screening
So
on
it
your
would be
background.
better to let us know. You don't
Yeah.
have to let us know, but if you don't let us know and we send you for an interview,
Yeah.
it's liable to come up. If you tell us, we can work with it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
always best to be honest. Tell us what we're working with so we can work with you.
yeah.
And if the question is coming from an employer trying to figure out the population, because I know a lot of companies don't, the applicant tracking systems or the systems they have in place don't identify veterans or haven't asked these questions. It's about, one, you can start creating more creative strategies. You can start creating
Yes.
events around Veterans Day is coming up, November 11th.
Yeah.
And with that, like at Kraft Foods is a good example, and Prime Source Building Products, what we did was we created a kind of a luncheon for veterans. We invite everyone, but we had a sign-up sheet. So it was kind of like a sneaky thing, like, okay, well, you know, come eat, sign in, show your brand. And then we started identifying, okay, they start veterans self-identify, okay, and we had more veterans than we realized within our, the company itself. And it was kind of cool when you start seeing that we haven't done a great job from a civilian aspect of creating that culture or creating that work
The
environment.
culture.
we
Yeah.
didn't know, you know,
Yeah.
we didn't, it wasn't,
It
Yeah.
wasn't, and a lot of times, a lot of veterans don't want you to know.
yeah.
You know, a lot of veterans don't want you to say, "Oh, you served," because they're afraid that there's a stigma attached.
That part.
But some of them are
Yes.
rightfully saying, you know, I've done my duty. I'm confident enough knowing that I don't need everyone else to know,
Yes, yes.
and that's okay too, right? That's okay.
It comes up sometimes when you do an application online or whatever, and they get to the part that says disability. And so when I first got out, I'm like, I don't think I want them to know I have a disability because they might not hire me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for a long time, that one was like, no, I'm just dandy. No disabilities. You know what I mean? I'm great. I don't need any accommodations. I'm trying to get this job. But I think now more so, if you're honest with that, they make accommodations. They do. It's like a law for some things. And the same thing when I know somebody perhaps has a background. If you tell me you have a background, you had a bleep in your life, I'm going to look for a background-friendly employer. And
Exactly.
employers tend to let us know they're background-friendly. They're like, yes, we will hire everybody with a background up to, or maybe not including this. So I know how to assist somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you just come and tell us how to work with you, we will work with you. You know what I mean?
It's gonna come up.
These Bangs
know.
people.
And look, it's gonna come up, so don't think you can hide anything, you know, 'cause
You can't.
when it comes to employment history, there's a way for the employer to find out if you worked in the last 6 months or the last 2 years or 6 years.
Yes.
They can track that, they know. So if you were laid off or, you know, you don't want your diagnosis out there, whatever the situation is, just be honest about it.
Right.
Because
right.
there is a way to communicate that particular issue or that concern.
For sure, for sure. Especially
Yeah.
see a resume and every job is 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Okay, I see it. They're gonna see it. Let's talk about it before you go see them, so we're able to explain to the employer why you have these small little tidbits of jobs. And it could be you ran out of daycare, but now your child's in first grade, so that's no longer an issue. But we need to be prepared to talk about that. Are you a 3-year gap? You're like, what's a 3-year gap? First thing I think when I see a 3-year gap, were you away on vacation, otherwise known as jail? Well, that wasn't the case. You were in school. You were getting your bachelor's degree.
Yeah? Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Let's fill that in with the University of wherever. It can go on your resume.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But if we don't talk about it, they're literally in their mind going to think vacation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You ever heard it called vacation? It does
The
few
base
times.
station.
Yes.
It's the base station.
Base station.
But keep in mind though, advocacy is a big part of what we do, right?
Yes.
You know, don't think that you have to be by yourself. Both organizations,
Right.
Texas Veterans Commission, Veterans Health Administration, or the VA, we're about advocacy.
Definitely.
Not walking with you, standing with you, supporting you through your process when it comes to employment or any other resources or services that you might need.
And how would an employer or anyone that's watching or anyone that's going to watch get in contact with TVC, with the VA? What's the first step? Because I know for when you're talking about a company, sometimes there are folks, it is a recruiter, it is a, you know, maybe not the manager, maybe not the director, maybe not DEI, it is a recruiter. How would they be able to get in contact with either one of you?
TVC has a website, very simple, tvc.texas.gov, and you go on that website and it is a plethora of information. They have 9 programs. You just go on there, it's got a drop-down menu, and if you're looking for somebody like me in the workforce, again, they've got a locator on there now. You type where you are, it pops up, here's the workforce, here's the phone number, here's the email. You can find one of us. We're across all of North Texas and into the other parts of Texas.
Yeah. As far as the VA is concerned, everybody knows you can always go to www.va.gov, right? But specifically for this program, because it is specialized, if you want information about it, some clarification or what have you, you can reach out to me directly via email, and that's Ramone, R-A-M-O-N-E, Reese, R-E-E-C-E, @va.gov. And I'll be able to kind of talk to you about the criteria, the enrollment, the admission, all of that type of thing, or ask any questions that you have.
If you get a bounce back from his, he got it. I don't know what it is. I email him, it's always a bounce back, but he received it. Okay, so he will receive your email.
Ignore the return to sender.
And it does.
It does.
It tells me sometimes that there's a focused email and there's a main email. A focused and some other type of email. And they come in,
Oh, the focus and the other.
There you go. I said some kind of other, right?
Apparently, I'm a other.
But no, but it'll bounce between the two, and if
I
one
would
is
do
not
that.
in one, it'll tell you. It's the craziest thing in the world. Maybe
So
it's a
you will
VA
answer.
thing, you know?
Yeah, it must, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you just put me in the other block, but it's okay. It's
The
okay.
junk.
He will answer
Because
you.
I always hit the junk. That's where you.
Oh, you go to junk email?
I always
I
end up, I end up in
You
junk.
must have a special link to me, because I get all of your emails.
At midnight.
Okay, there is another question. Are veteran retention rates skewed because of veterans not reporting their service? Michael, you have the best questions. By the way, I almost forgot, before we answer your question, because you seem very intelligent, we have an open position. That's my plug right quick, I'm sorry. In Arlington, really, there will be an open position for what I do, Veterans Employer Liaison, in Arlington. It's gonna be on the CAPS website, so if you're looking to work with TVC, look for that next week. Okay, so back to your question, Michael, before you do that application. What was it, the retention rate?
The retention rate, everything is based on numbers, Michael, you know? And I don't know if there's any way that you can determine what the retention rate will be in any situation, in that scenario. It's all about the input, who's
Right.
putting in the information, where the information is coming from.
Do they maintain the numbers?
Yeah, or is it accurate, right?
Right.
The
Yes.
accuracy of the information.
Yes.
So we don't know if the numbers are skewed or not. I would love an answer to that, so if you could follow up with us later at another one of our
Or when I see you at
sessions.
TVC?
I would say from a company perspective, from my perspective, a lot of the military veteran and diversity initiatives, the numbers may be not as accurate only because of self-identified. They're not tracking as well. In a lot of companies that I have started with, from a data perspective, we are in our infancy as far as tracking, from aggregating
Yes.
And accumulating data. And that's okay. Like with D&I, the best thing is just to kind of get going. And one of my mentors, Roxanne Griffith with the Department of Labor, one of my first full life cycle projects, interstate batteries. And I was like, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do post hire, we gotta figure out who's a vet. She goes, just bring them in the doors. Once you just get going, the data will take care of itself. You just start kind of A, B, C. And that's the kind of approach I've started taking with a lot of companies is that, okay, it sounds horrible to say, but let's just start recruiting. Let's develop your talent sourcing pipelines. And what applicant tracking systems are you using? How do we start getting them to self-identify? Can we ask a question? And then once you start doing that, you start going into retention aspect. Okay, now we're hiring. How do we retain the talent development, talent engagement, employee engagement aspects? And then you start focusing on that. You're like, okay, well, now I can start focusing on, okay, we're bringing them in. They're applying. They're getting hired. Are they staying? Now you start doing like employee surveys. Because I know with Kraft Foods and Prime Source, and there was a couple of companies, contracts I took, you start taking employee engagement surveys. Okay, well, why do they stay? Like Domino's, we're in their infancy, or in developing a military program, and the marketing team, because I partner with marketing a lot. They're like, okay, well, let's figure out why they came here, why veterans, let's figure out who we have first, why they came, why they stayed, why they chose Domino's, how long they've been here, and all of a sudden you start kind of indirectly start understanding your retention rates, and then all of a sudden you start getting veterans. Once they see that you're sincere, and this is from a civilian, so I don't want to overspeak or overstep, but from my perspective, once a veteran sees you're sincere with your initiative, they self-identify. I want to help. Where can I do it?
Sure.
Domino's, Gilbert in North Texas, at the distribution center, corporate, David Poe, they start coming out, like leadership positions, like, you know what, I want to be a buddy, I want to be a mentor, you're doing this program, and it seems like you have your heart in the right place. And then, long story longer, you can improve, you can
That was
recruit.
long story short.
But like you said, right?
Isn't
The
that how I'm
information,
saying
right?
I'm just saying. My dad says that all the time. 2 hours later, my dad's finished with his story.
It's all about the data, right?
Yes.
Is it intentional data, right?
Yes.
Is this a measurement, right, of the outcomes and so on and so forth? It measures and outcomes. It's all about data, right?
Yeah.
And numbers. Are we being specific with our recruiting, directives from a marketing component, right? Are we recruiting from the right places? Are we recruiting from the right sources? Are our channels where they should be. Those are all the things that you're talking about when you start talking about the marketing and numbers being skewed.
Oops.
You
Is
didn't say
that
that,
a
did
pun? Or no?
Well, I did say that. Mama, I'm sorry. Look, Mama, if you watching, I apologize.
He said screw-
You might not be wrong.
Is there another question? We messing up here. You know what, Michael? We'll have Department of Labor here next time. Okay. So, Chris, bring us home on that.
So I appreciate, so as we're wrapping up, I just want to make sure everyone has a closing statement, kind of share, closing, God, I can't even talk anymore.
You just threw them on that.
Hey,
Like,
man,
follow,
look.
and share.
Make sure you follow Heroes Foundation, follow up with us, because I know the VA, and I'm speaking with them later today regarding the Heroes Rise Alliance, which is our community coalition of private, public sector, of federal resources, state, local, but also companies, nonprofits, universities. We're all coming together to create this alliance more focused on engagement, but also execution. One of the things we want to start doing is be more intentional in how we partner with companies, entrepreneurs, but also make sure, in helping from the back end, front end, where we're doing a great job of resume writing, interview tips, things like that. These conversations are fantastic.
Yeah.
But we really want to start impacting, the employers, the entrepreneurs, and how we can start kind of recovering from the impact of COVID and making sure that everyone has an opportunity, has a successful career, or, everything that they're looking for. But so make sure you follow us. Make sure we have our next conversation series coming up next month, and in September we'll provide more information. But from parting words,
Let's make sure we got it right. Heroes Rise
Alliance.
Alliance. Facebook, Instagram,
That's all coming. That's all
Okay.
coming. So that's all
and you'll be
coming.
able to tweet.
We have
Twitter.
so we have the initial team, the VA,
Mhm.
up in Washington D.C., led by Dr. Jamie Davis. The Heroes Foundation has an MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, with the VA, so we have access to a lot of VA tools and resources. We have the City of Dallas, we have Citigroup, we have Service King. We have a lot of people coming together
Yes.
to be able
Yes.
to create this. So it's like I said, it is infancy, but
You have
it's
DOL. I just remembered that.
Department of Labor, Roxanne Griffin.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did. Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
And considering that, who's invited to the party?
Mhm.
Who's collaborating with you guys or working, or is it a volunteer? If it's an organization out there or individual or entrepreneur looking to have those discussions, are they free to join, or
Absolutely.
is it a vetting process? What's
At this point, like we're anyone that's willing to join, anyone's willing to come together. We are creating, like I said, with my the team, the Heroes Rise Alliance. Giles King Productions. There's a lot coming together in order to create this what we're hoping for from a community aspect,
Right.
to ensure that every program has a success, but also the people, the community involved has an opportunity at real, opportunity at real jobs, or careers, I should say, not just jobs.
Right. Right.
So
Definitely. So we will try to have, as we move forward in this and as we grow and we see what we need to bring, what we need to discuss. UC has a lot of partnerships with so many people, and everybody comes to the table because everybody wants to build up veterans. VA, Heroes Foundation, TBC, there's a lot of places out there, a lot of employers, a lot of things. He's doing great things in the community. It's just all about assisting not only with employment, but with mental health, with your families, your children. We just want to be a support system, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Each one reach one.
There you go. Hand up, not a handout.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't call me for money. Help you get a job. I'm not giving you any money. All right. Yes. I'll make that clear. Chris, you want to end us?
yeah, so I appreciate everyone attending. I appreciate everyone that is coming in, and like I said, we're YouTube Live, we're Facebook Live, so we're trying to we're going through a lot of different channels. So I appreciate anyone that participated. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach any one of us.
Yes.
I know Ramon provided his email. You have T's. But I thank you for attending. I thank you for participating, listening, and we look forward. We look forward to next month.
All right.
Thank you.